had brought them enough referrals and enough business that they offered me a job. Made more sense financially for them to hire me. So Jack was one of the ways I was introduced to Ship Sigma. He's our SVP. Before I turn it over to him, I am going to let you know one of the reasons I was excited to work for Ship Sigma is because what we do is so simple. We save a company that ships over $1 million or more 21% on average a year in their shipping costs. Full stop. We do it without a change in how they operate. So very easy to understand. You speak to a client, they ship over $1 million a year. They're going to be a likely customer. We are almost always going to find them savings. And the person who taught me what to say, taught me what to do here at Ship Sigma is Jack. And I'm going to let Jack take it from here. Jack.
Thank you, Brent. Appreciate it, Sean. Wonderful to meet everybody. Been with the company here for about 4 years, and I interface in a number of different roles, whether sale, partnerships, and working with our RevOps team to provide solutions for our customers. So excited to meet all of you today. With that said, let's go ahead and dive in here. You know, Brent hit the nail on the head. It really is as easy as working with companies that ship a lot with UPS and FedEx. We save on average 21.3% on an annual basis, and that is pure cost reduction. This is not cost avoidance. This is actual results that will show up on the P&L. So you'll have a happy CFO, a happy VP of supply chain, whoever your contact is. Hopefully they're getting promoted through this process. But it's a wonderful opportunity to obviously take advantage of not only the ShipStore revenue stream, but the Ship Sigma revenue stream as well, because these are typically multi-year agreements, and we have a very high retention rate at over 90%. Can you guys all see my screen here?
Yep.
Okay, great. So some of the problems that we're solving for our clients really all stem from the complexity of parcel. When you think about shipping, you have your freight, your LTL, the big heavy stuff that's going on the trucks. And then you also have, let's say, the ground deliveries or express deliveries that are smaller packages, but incredibly costly. The areas in which we're helping companies and the problems that we're solving generally stem from high parcel shipping costs, lack of transparency in carrier contracts, inefficient and manual invoice auditing processes, and a difficulty in building an effective negotiation strategy. The reason these are the four pillars in the problems that we're solving is that parcel is incredibly opaque. It doesn't matter if you're a CFO who has 40 years in the business and you've negotiated agreements with large vendors. It doesn't matter if you're a VP of supply chain where you've spent 25 years at Walmart and know everything there is to know under the sun about supply chain and transportation. The reality of it is there is no market data when it comes to parcel pricing. You can't just take your pricing and go compare that to another company down the road. That visibility doesn't exist. So the first part of this process is bringing visibility to your client's current costing at a line item level so that they can understand, what am I truly paying for this package? Because when you place a shipment, there could be 5 to 10 line items associated with that shipment, depending on where it's going, how big it is, how heavy it is, what service you're using, etc. So the costing structure is incredibly complex. So our role there is to be able to ingest their raw invoice data. We can literally look at a sample size of their invoices directly from the carriers, take that and model that out through our proprietary technology, and then benchmark that against $3 billion in live market pricing to determine, are you actually paying market appropriate rates? The reason that matters is because a FedEx or a UPS rep, they're an account executive, right? They're great at helping you navigate service level issues or taking you out to dinner or taking you to events or managing the account in general. But at the end of the day, they have limited visibility into margin. That's all by design from corporate FedEx and UPS. And they really don't control pricing. So I'm sure all of you have had conversations with clients where they may have tried to go to UPS and FedEx in the past and negotiate. And that's usually met with, oh, you guys have wonderful pricing, or there's still a year left on your current agreement. You can't do anything yet. And the fact of the matter is, that's BS 99% of the time. The reps have no control over pricing. And so at the forefront of all of this with our complementary analysis, the first thing we're going to do is expose exactly where your client is overpaying and provide them with a complementary analysis so they can truly understand, okay, we do see the areas where we're overpaying. How do we go get these savings? So the way that we do that is through this flywheel here. In the very top, it all starts with the tech-driven negotiation. That's the core business. That's where we come alongside your client, analyze their data, and go white glove the negotiation of a brand new UPS or FedEx pricing agreement. That only takes 4 to 6 weeks. So from when we initially meet a client, we have a 30-minute conversation with them. We then ask them for 13 weeks of invoice data, which they can share directly through a portal, which I'll show you here in a moment. It takes them 5 minutes max. We ingest that raw data. We model that out through our proprietary tech, determine where all the pockets of margin are. And then within 5 business days, we're able to come back and present that information to the client. Then from there, if they say, we want to partner, this makes sense to us, we want to capture these savings, 4 to 6 weeks later, they will actually start realizing those savings. There is no tech integration. We pull this information directly through their FedEx or UPS billing online logins. So there is no integration from that standpoint. There's no service level change and there's no operational change. So literally your client today could be spending $5 million on shipping. They change nothing. 6 weeks from now, they're saving $1 million annually just by partnering with Ship Sigma. That's that tech-driven negotiation process. Beyond that, we're also holding the carriers accountable through our weekly invoice audit in conjunction with our contract compliance. So I do want to highlight the weekly invoice audit for a moment because there are a lot of audit-based companies out there. And one of the things, we talked about the script that we can provide. One of the things that you might hear when you go make an introduction to Ship Sigma is, oh, we already have an audit company. Don't get fooled by that. We are not an audit company. Our core business is focused on negotiating these new agreements, which drive meaningful savings back to the business. Audit companies, what they do is they file claims on behalf of the customer for things like service damage, for service level failures, like you overnight a package and it doesn't get delivered on time. You're entitled to the cost of shipping being refunded to you. Damaged packages, lost packages, and then dozens of other kind of little ticky-tack invoice charges. Those things matter. That's all part of our process, but we are not an audit-focused company. Those audit-focused companies aren't doing the contract engineering piece, and that's where the real dollars are for these businesses in terms of improving EBITDA and bottom line. On the right-hand side, we're also deploying our contract compliance. Billing with UPS and FedEx, incredibly complicated. There are over 150 negotiable terms within a pricing agreement with those carriers. So when you receive that invoice, when AP is looking at that invoice on a weekly basis, it's almost impossible to know if you're paying the correct amount. So a lot of what we're doing on an ongoing basis is helping those business owners understand that when they go pay that invoice to FedEx and UPS, it's 100% correct. There are a number of times where they will run into billing errors. Maybe they didn't receive the right discount on one of their line items. Maybe they weren't getting the right discount applied based on the amount of volume that they're shipping for that particular week. That is something that we're monitoring completely in the background so that when finance goes to pay that invoice to the carrier, they have 100% confidence that it's accurate. If it isn't, we provide all of the detailed information behind it, tracking info, all the line item detail, all of the service level detail based on the scan information. And what they're able to do is take our email that we craft, send that on to the carrier and get that money refunded. So we're able to flag all of those issues real time, provide that direct communication to the client, and then they can provide that directly to the carrier to get that money refunded. And then last but not least in this flywheel, you have your analytics and your business intelligence. There's companies that come to us just because they don't understand their own data or they don't have visibility. If you were to log into FedEx or UPS online billing right now, if you were a customer, when you pulled up your invoice, you would basically see 150 line items of data that really don't mean anything. And again, that's all by design. FedEx and UPS run this duopoly where they kind of play off of each other and they want to keep clients in the dark because they don't want you to have the ability to go challenge them on pricing because they are able to build in so much margin into those agreements. And so that's why that data is so opaque and exactly why we exist. But through our analytics and our business intelligence, we provide white glove reporting, the things that matter to them, such as time in transit, average package costs, the number of times packages are being damaged, where their zones are in terms of where the deliveries are being made. There's a slew of analytics that we can deploy. And they also have a cloud-based platform that they can log into to see specifically all of these different areas. And it's all tailored to what that client would want to see with respect to parcel. Okay. Happy to take any questions if they're coming through. If not, we can go ahead and keep rolling till the end.
Jack, I'm kind of taking some as they come in also.
Okay, great. In this center section, I think it's important to kind of compare and contrast, because you'll always run into that person that says, oh, we got this covered, our team's great, we have the best rates, blah, blah, blah. Those are typically the companies that stand to gain the most by working with a Ship Sigma. But there's really two paths that happen when you engage the carrier to try to renegotiate your pricing. Number one is at the top. That's where you reach out to your rep. Let's say the CFO is looking at the financials and they say transportation is getting out of control. We're saying that it's up, 23% year over year. Our sales aren't up, our volume's not up, but costs are truly up. That's usually an indicator that they're going to want to go talk to FedEx or UPS and try to renegotiate. The first thing that the carriers are going to tell them is, oh, we can't negotiate right now because we're in the middle of a term. That is not true. You can renegotiate your carrier pricing agreement at any point. It doesn't matter if you signed it 2 weeks ago, we could go help renegotiate that same agreement today. So that's a common misconception. Just want to make it clear that you'll hear that. That is not the real story. Those can be tailored. In the center section, this is the path without Ship Sigma. So we went back and we did a study on clients that chose to go it alone, meaning they didn't partner with Ship Sigma. And what we found after evaluating their new pricing agreements after they hadn't worked with us is they saw an average of 3% net savings by just focusing on doing this internally. Listen, 3% is 3%, but it's a far cry from being able to capture 21%. And also, how much time did it actually take them to negotiate that 3%? Normally, that's a 4 to 6 month process, whereas Ship Sigma is doing that in 4 to 6 weeks. So if we look at this bottom section, now it may be a little bit small for you guys, but the premise here is that within 4 to 6 weeks, you have a brand new agreement. Rates are fully implemented. We oversee that entire implementation to make sure that there's no slowdown in terms of those discounts cutting over and you actually realizing those savings. We've seen horror stories where clients have signed new agreements, their pricing isn't implemented properly, and they're still paying the same pricing 3 to 6 weeks from when they signed that pricing agreement. We oversee that entire process. And then we come to the client, meet with them and say, hey, great news. Everything has been fully implemented. You're now realizing X percentage of savings on a weekly basis. And we're able to show that to them specifically through this line item re-rate. So what's great about this is every single week as the client ships, they're being invoiced by FedEx or UPS. So what we do is we take all of their current week's charges, that's represented here in this orange section, and this is all line item data. You can see as an example, this one shipment had 4 charges on it. Those charges totaled $24.60, okay? If we re-rate that back to what they were paying previously, that same shipment would have cost them $28.19. So this is the perfect visualization for finance, for the logistics team, procurement. It doesn't matter what department. We're able to validate those savings because it's a true apples to apples comparison. This is what you're paying today. That same charge on your old pricing would have cost you X. So you're able to see that line item detail. And as I slide over here to the right-hand side, you can see the cost reduction laid out on every single line item, on every single shipment. Beyond that, this is fully auditable. So a client can come in here and say, okay, I want to look up this specific account number with this invoice number. and see what all of the charges were on this particular shipment, it's all laid out right here. Have at it. Log into FedEx.com, type in the tracking number, see if it matches up. It does. That's what this is designed to do, so that a client wouldn't have to do that. So this is a readily available report that we push to their team every single week based on what they ship that week, because obviously those things can fluctuate based on volume, orders, box sizes, etc. So it's a true apples to apples comparison to reconcile the savings. A few things that make us different. Again, we've done this for over 350 customers. We've realized over $200 million in savings for those clients. We manage over $2 billion, which is at this point $3 billion in spend. And our year-over-year retention rate is 90%. But I think this 90% really speaks to the annuity piece of this, right? We talked about this is fast money. This can also be long-term money as well in conjunction with ShipStore. They're two very, very complementary products and solutions. But the things that make us different really kind of break down into 5 categories. I could sit here and talk your ear off all day about how we're different, but we'll narrow it down to 5. We have our shipping savings guarantee. I think this is probably the most important. We actually back our work with a full guarantee. So when you make an introduction, we meet with the client, we run the analysis, we'll come back and say, hey, we can save you 19.8% or whatever that number is. We back that 19.8 with a full guarantee, meaning that if we go negotiate them a new agreement and we don't hit that number, that agreement can actually be terminated without any compensation due to Ship Sigma. So we're incredibly confident, not only in our financial blueprint that we have from our technology, but also in our ability to create the right communication that can be sent to the carrier to get them to move, to give us all of the concessions that we're asking for. We talked about the white glove end-to-end execution. To shine a light on that a little bit further, what that means is that we are not going directly to FedEx or UPS. We do not want to interfere in your client's relationship with that vendor. At the end of the day, they're incredibly important. They move a lot of packages for them. So we're not going to meddle in that. But the way that it works at a practical level is that the negotiation is done almost exclusively through email. So that differs a lot, because when a company wants to go negotiate with FedEx and UPS, usually they try to delay and they like to control the timeline. So they'll want to come in and bring in the suits and sit down and do a warehouse study and all these different things. Whereas what we're doing is we're creating a very detailed business case based on where your business is and based on where the business objectives sit going into the new year. And what we do is we take those details and we write strategic communication. So that way, when we go to the carriers and we present that communication to the carrier, there's teeth behind our ask. We know that there's X percentage based on the market data, but being able to get the carriers to move in order to hit that target, that's a completely different ballgame. So there's really 2 secret sauces to this process: the upfront analysis and that proprietary modeling, and then also that strategic communication and the business case that we create for the negotiation. But again, we're operating completely in the background. FedEx and UPS do not know that we're involved in this, but we will have a point person at the business. And what we'll do is on a weekly basis, provide them with a couple pieces of email communication. They take that, copy, paste, format. It's fully transparent, so they see exactly what's being written. And then we're using that relationship at the actual customer level for them to send that directly on to the rep. So that rep then has all of our asks in a very succinct format that has teeth behind it based on our business case, and they can go take that to FedEx and UPS corporate and get them to provide a new pricing proposal. Now, that leads me to my next point. When a client gets a pricing proposal from FedEx or UPS, they usually will say something along the lines, that the carrier will say something along the lines of, this is set to save you X percentage. What we have found is that that percentage is erroneous. It's wrong 95% of the time. And so they're using their own data to kind of manipulate this offer that at the end of the day isn't going to come to fruition from an actual dollars and cents perspective. So that's the other piece, is we're able to tell the true story of, okay, you now have this new proposal from FedEx and UPS. By comparing these new terms to your historical shipments, this is what this offer is actually going to save you. And if it doesn't meet our asks, then you better believe that we're going to go back for a second round. But generally, if we have to go back for 2 or 3 rounds, we're still doing that within that 4 to 6 week timeline. We already talked about the operational change. We are parcel focused. It's near and dear to our heart, simply based on the fact that 75% of our team have come directly from the carriers, both FedEx and UPS. Obviously, that's a huge advantage because we know where the bodies are buried, so to speak. We know exactly how that kind of pricing committee process works internally and the timelines behind that. So we know what to ask for, when to ask for it, and how to ask for it. And that's why we're able to do this process all through writing, make it time bound on our timeline versus the carriers, and get it done very effectively within 4 to 6 weeks. Here's a customer slide. Happy to share this information over with you after the call. This really just represents the fact that it does not matter what you're shipping. As long as you're shipping it with FedEx and UPS and you're spending $1 million a year, we're going to be able to help you. So as you can imagine, that is a tremendous amount of companies across the US. Medical devices, pharmacy, Celsius energy drinks, Rawlings baseball gloves and baseballs, Schutt football helmets, Jovial pasta, it does not matter. If they're shipping with UPS and FedEx, there's a very high likelihood that they are overpaying and there's meaningful savings to be had. So the next piece that we want to explore here is the shipping profile. This is an example of the complementary analysis that I've referenced earlier in the call. So what we're doing here, let me make this a little bit smaller so you can see the full thing here. What we're doing is basically taking the client's invoice data, ingesting that, and then regurgitating it or presenting it back to them in a format that they can actually understand, because we're normalizing all this information. So they can see, oh, over this 90-day period, we spent $4.3 million. We analyzed 323,000 shipments. The average cost per package was $13.32. Average zone, build weight ratio. Without getting too far into the weeds, just know that this is incredibly detailed, and it's unlikely that they have anything like this that is showing them line item cost visibility across their small parcel. So even if we aren't able to help in the rare occasion, if we run 100 analysis, we're probably helping 99% of those clients in terms of finding savings. But for the 1% that we don't help, this is a fantastic validation exercise, in which case now their supply chain team, finance team, whoever is really running point on this, now has a detailed report and understands exactly why their pricing is market appropriate today. So it's kind of a win-win. There's no reason why you shouldn't run an analysis. We'll either validate you're doing a great job internally or identify an opportunity to help you guys reduce costs meaningfully. As we continue down, we have all kinds of information related to their average package cost by location, the distance in which these packages are traveling, the overall distribution footprint. This is represented through heat maps and through several different metrics throughout this document. We have all the detail behind all of their package dimensions. So what box sizes you're using, which box sizes are the most inefficient in terms of being billed at dimensional weight, which is incredibly costly. And then everyone's personal favorite, we have a lot of detail behind the accessorial charges. So just from an educational standpoint, accessorial charges are all of the extraneous or surcharges that get tacked on to the transportation charge. So if you go to ship a package and you're shipping it to me and it's coming to my house, you have to pay for your base freight charge. That's for the transportation. And then you're gonna have to pay fuel, and then you're gonna have to pay a residential surcharge because it's coming to my house. And then if it's a big box, there could be additional handling. I can keep going and going. But the point being, this customer is seeing over a dozen regularly incurred surcharges, and they're very costly. And you can see right here, a remote area surcharge is $10.61. They probably don't know that. Residential delivery surcharges, because they're shipping a lot to people's homes, is $2.33 just on that one line item on every single home delivery. So being able to break out this information, visualize it, and speak it back to clients, it is very, very telling, because they're not looking at this on a daily basis, and this is all that we do. So it's not just about helping them achieve best-in-class pricing today, it's about doing that in an ongoing basis. So as the carriers continue to come out and change things, these are typically the areas or the charges that they target most frequently when they raise rates. We're going to be right there next to your client, modeling out how that impact or how that increase would impact their overall budget. But then even better, we're going back to the carrier subsequently and renegotiating caps or other discounts to help them to control those costs long term. So it's not just about a negotiation today, it's about maintaining those discounts and adding to those discounts over years 2 and 3 for ongoing continuous improvement. So after we walk them through that detailed analysis, we'll dive into the savings presentation or the savings profile, if you will. And this is where we show them the opportunity to reduce their costs. So you can see from this client, they were spending about $17.9 million a year. On an annual basis, we reduced that down to 14.1 across 1.3 million shipments. Average package cost reduced from $13.32 to $10.56. Annually, they were netting $2.3 million after our share, after any shared savings. And then down below, here's just another kind of a slightly less detailed example of how we reconcile those savings so the clients can see, okay, here's all the supporting detail behind the shipments. Here's what we would have paid on our old pricing. Here's what we're paying today. Therefore, the cost reduction on each line item is visualized over here in the green section. And they have that at scale on every shipment, every single week.
Jack, can you speak to the 21% that we're quoting? We had a question on whether that's gross or net after our fees.
Yeah, 21% is gross. Yep, 21.3%, that's gross savings.
Okay. Yeah. So after our fee, they're still ending up potentially in the 14% range. That's an average.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. And can you explain the DHL side was the other question. We got FedEx, obviously FedEx, UPS.
Yeah, so DHL, great question. So DHL e-commerce that's primarily your US based DHL service. One, not a tremendous amount of customers use that service, and that is geared primarily towards very lightweight shipments. Think, I don't know, wristbands or socks or shirts or things of that nature that may go in like a poly mailer, not time bound, very lightweight. And it typically takes 5 to 7 days to get from whatever DC to the end client. It's not a bad option. That's just not something that we would work with. We wouldn't analyze DHL e-commerce data and find savings. But great question, because that kind of helps us narrow the scope on who we should be talking to. Another comment on DHL, in many cases, UPS and FedEx users are shipping internationally. We have DHL express rates specific to international shipments. And on every single one of our analyses, we take any applicable international shipments, bump those up against our DHL international rates and see if there's a cost savings. Most of the time there is, but there's also a transit time savings as well. Usually see that go from like a 4 to 5 day transit time down to a 2-day transit time. So we can leverage international DHL rates, but we won't do anything domestically here in the States.
Jack, we had a question that was what the acceptance ratio after an introduction typically is and what the salespeople can do to raise that acceptance rate.
When you say acceptance rate, is that actually us getting data after the intro call?
No, they just mean the intro call.
Oh, the intro call. The way that you can be more effective at making intros is doing less selling. Hooking them with hey, when was the last time you had your carrier pricing agreement benchmarked? Well, we haven't done that. We usually manage that in-house. Well, fantastic. We actually have an amazing partner that's doing a complimentary analysis for you right now. And it's either a great way to validate that your team's done an amazing job, or they typically find 21% savings and they turn these in 3 to 4 business days. Love for you to take a look. Like that would be how you would want to position that. They'll ask additional questions, or they'll have things like, oh, we handle it in-house, or we work with a 3PL, or we just renegotiated. That's okay. We want to meet with them, let them know that we can help in all of those scenarios.
Yeah. So I'll jump in. There was another question and Jack, you brought this up. Why wouldn't they just do it themselves? Somebody asked a question, great question about 3PL. Oh, they got the best rates. Everybody, by the way, always thinks they have the best rates, right, Jack? It's literally like, they hire certain enterprise level people. They hire an old UPS or a FedEx rep, and they think that gets them insight. Maybe Jack, you can explain, why they think they have the best and they don't have the best, or how we know.
Yeah, I think anybody that's spent a lot of money paying their supply chain team probably assumes that they have the best rates because, they're spending money to hire talented people that supposedly know how to manage this. Here's the reality of it. Parcel is very opaque. I don't care how big your company is, Parcel is very opaque. One of our clients is Tractor Supply as an example. We're going to save them $8 million just on UPS. They have the resources, they have the bodies, they have the budget to hire very talented people to go do this themselves. It's still ineffective compared to what we can do. Most of it, and it's not that they don't know what they're doing. I want to make that very clear. It's the fact that they don't have market data. When you start looking at the complexity of these agreements, there's discounts based on a weight from 5 to 10 pounds that's completely different than a package that's 10 to 20 pounds. And you extrapolate that out over the course of 150 negotiable components, you don't know what to ask for. And in many cases, these companies kind of know that, hey, here's a surcharge that we're getting hit with a lot. Let's focus on that. But while they have their eye on the target there, they're missing 10 other opportunities to negotiate in areas that they don't even know are negotiable. And so that's really the difference is one, the technology and having that market data, but then number two, putting together a really good strategic communication track that lets UPS and FedEx know that, hey, we want to continue to expand this partnership. We never approach these negotiations like banging our chest, like, hey, you guys are screwing us over. It's always very partner focused, but there's got to be some teeth behind it. Maybe there's a change in leadership. Maybe there's pressure from private equity. Maybe there's been new product launches. There's dozens of reasons that we build into this story that we're telling to the carriers. But that's the other piece of it. If you don't know how to ask for these discounts in the right way, you're never going to get them. So those are a couple of reasons why companies can't just go do this on their own. They may go get a little something. They may get 3% was the average that we saw through that study. But for them to truly optimize, too complicated, not enough visibility.
All right, Jack, we have some follow-up questions. I think we can kind of plow through them.
What about real quick, guys? And I want to guide a couple of things here too. Thanks, Brent, for answering all these questions. And I think ones that are good, Brent, that would serve everyone. Like, let's rebuild that up. Like Dick Sack Burrito, you had a couple clients that you sent into ShipStore before, and that's a different service, right? So these guys are doing renegotiation. So you need to bring those clients back to the table, Rich, and get them set up, okay? So, because that's going to be a win, because this is a no, I'm not changing anything, I'm not doing anything, I'm just making the client have a better result, period, end of story. Does that make sense, everyone? Do you guys see why Six Sigma now is the lead-in? And a lot of people ask me too, Brent, where do I see my ML leads? Same thing, you're going to go to ShipStore, because then they're going to divert it right away to Ship Sigma, right? We're going to want to lead with that. Oh, is this also a good client for a ShipStore? They're going to coordinate so they don't pitch at the same time, right? So that's the whole beauty of having one wheelhouse for all of you to go through. So I wanted to serve that. Go ahead, Brent. I know you've been
So you had
Q&A.
some specific questions. Well, what about if they ship jewelry? Or what if they ship heavy stuff? This is all about if they ship with UPS and FedEx, the bill will show the truth. So you almost don't need to worry about getting specific as, well, do they ship this? Do they ship that? As long as they're paying FedEx or UPS to ship the stuff, we can save them money. So Jack, there was a question about competition. Maybe you can kind of touch on that real quickly.
Yeah. So yeah, of course, there's competition out there. Most of our competition, guys, is SaaS based. And so you see a very vast, different result. What I mean by that is there are platforms that you can sign up for. You can pay a flat fee where you can go in and you can look at your parcel data. Now, you could do that today through FedEx online billing and UPS online billing. You're just now paying somebody $3,000 to $5,000 a month to maybe have some more normalized data. But then what do you go do with that data? You still can't analyze it against a market of $3 billion in live market pricing to see where the savings actually sits and what type of negotiation strategy will you deploy. So we have a few of those competitors out there. They're more audit and analytics focused, like, hey, here's some great dashboards for your team to use. Some companies are very data focused, so they want those pretty dashboards. It kind of gives them that sense of comfort in having those, but from an execution standpoint, it's not great. We're focused on the execution piece where we're actually going and doing the work, getting the hard dollar savings, and then showing you where you receive those hard dollar savings. And then we're going to go do it again in the upcoming 36-month term on that agreement so that you're always paying optimized pricing as the carriers try to change things.
Right, and John Vance, don't register a deal just to sit on it. I mean, you want to register to be able to get a discovery call with these guys, right? You don't need to pitch this deal. And Jack and Brent, I asked you guys, at the end, we'd be talking about a script, right? Like high level. So let's do that before we get into more questions too, if we wouldn't mind. So Jack, I'm a client, we have consultants across the country, they're professionals. What do they need to say to gain interest on the service with their client?
Yeah, I think the simple question of hey, when was the last time you've benchmarked your UPS or your FedEx pricing agreement? See what kind of answer they get. They'll probably hear something like, well, we just signed a new pricing agreement, or I have no idea. I would need to talk to somebody about that. And then just leading with, hey, no worries. But we're actually partnering with a company where they're coming in and they're identifying savings on average of 21%. They can do that with a complimentary analysis within 72 hours.
I've also
switching, they're not switching billers. They're not here to sell you additional.
Yeah, and we only make money if they say. So we're not pitching them our own service. We're not shipping they're not shipping on our trucks or on our accounts. It's their account. It stays their account, and we just make them pay. The bill drops. That's the effect. That's the only change that they'll
And if
see.
you guys, I hope the heck this crew, this call understands that, because that's a credit card audit deal, that's a workers' comp audit deal, that's a wireless deal, that's a traditional expense reduction, right? I mean, that's as simplistic as it gets. And by the way, show Jack and Brent, $1 million shipper, 10, 20 million in revenue generally for a company, fellas. You agree?
Yeah.
Who's got a shipping client, everybody? Who knows a company that ships? Go in the Q&A box, let these guys know, because I want you guys to get paid. Jack, how quick can you spin a deal for them, or we can bill it and pay?
Yeah, so the negotiation takes about 4 to 6 weeks. So literally it's July 8th. If somebody made an introduction, we could meet with them. Let's say we meet with them on Monday, okay? Meet with them, get data within 72 hours. So next week, a client could know how much money they could save by working with us. Go through the service agreement, they execute that. From that point forward, you're talking 4 to 6 weeks. So before September 1st, the client will start realizing savings. We would bill them probably 2 to 3 weeks after that. And then from there, the Blue Coast team would start getting paid. So somewhere between October, November, they would actually start getting that money from that negotiation.
2 to 3 months, right? That's what we kind of talked about. 2 to 3 months.
Yep.
So I keep forgetting we're in July. I feel like I'm in May, but someone told me it's
crazy
now, right? So Joseph, 2 clients. So here's the beauty of this. You guys don't have to get fancy. They're not switching. There's no risk. The risk is to them is if they don't work with Ship Sigma, because they're going to keep paying the same rates. Does everyone get that? And does everyone understand that they risk not working with these guys? They're going to come into a free analysis. And again, what's the percentage of savings you generate? I mean, what's the percentage of the time that you're finding savings, Jack, on these invoices?
99%.
You guys you bring your client, most chances they're going to find savings in the client. Got it? I mean, that's how beautiful this is. But I want to start laying up. Go ahead, Brent.
Yeah, I've seen 50 deals come through just in the year that I've been doing this. I've seen 2 where we couldn't save them money.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
So we're getting questions on what the comp is. I think, Sean, you
guys can go in your respective back offices, and your percentage payouts right there, and it's a percentage of whatever they collect. That percentage there, you'll see in your back office is what you're paid. That's what's great about it, right?
And our standard term is 3 years, guys, and you saw that we have a 90% retention rate, so could be getting paid for 4
and
or 5 years.
And you guys do a renew, right? The chance they can continue forward.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of our agreements have evergreen language, so when we go renegotiate a second time, that kicks out the term another 36 months.
1 million, Rebecca. That is correct. So So if you guys got warehouse distribution, would be a good fit.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a really great fit. Brett, if they use UPS or FedEx, they're a great fit, correct?
UPS, FedEx, and Jack explained the DHL piece.
Yep. Got it, everybody? So simple. I want you guys to make money. You have a client that ships, you need to be on it like this week, get them set up and get them in the wheelhouse. How intrusive, Joe Thomas, did you see his question, Brett? Joe Thomas, how intrusive is this on companies' behalf? Are they hesitant for someone to take a look, and what are they seeing in the market right now?
Yeah, great question. So that is one of the number one questions we get from clients is like, hey, is this going to mess up our relationship? Are they going to start doing, worse from a performance standpoint because we're paying them less? No. The same drivers doing the same job are going to pick up your packages and deliver them just the way that they always have. They have no idea what's going on with pricing. We are not interfering in the relationship. We do not interface directly with FedEx and UPS. That's why we put together all of the scripted communication for the client to do that directly. And it's easy. It's 1 to 2 emails a week over the course of 4 to 6 weeks. So we're talking about a very, very light lift, and they don't have to come up with any of the communication.
And Kevin wants to know, what are the titles with prospective customers that have shipping responsibility target? That's a good question.
Yes. So we actually we almost exclusively work with the finance side of the business because these are stakeholders that care about profitability and they have no tie to like any type of ownership in terms of, hey, I renegotiated that agreement. So they're not looking at this with a sense of pride, so to speak. They're looking at it very practically. Getting to the finance team, that would be priority number one. Title number 2 would be somebody in the supply chain. They could have ownership there. So VP of supply chain, director of logistics. You may have like a VP of omni-channel based on how big the business is, et cetera. So a high level director level or higher person on the supply chain side, or director level or higher person on the ops or finance side is also a good lead in for us.
Yeah, 100%.
We're getting some questions on the fee. The fee is negotiable. So typically we will try to go after a larger fee, a fee of close to 40% of savings. But if the guy's mammoth, if you're dealing with Best Buy, we're going to win the account. So we're going to negotiate that fee down. So that fee is
which means it's a larger client, you guys, which means you make a lot of money. Look,
Yeah.
What I like about this, guys, and their average clients, and I was talking to Jack and Brent about this earlier, I think it was like in the maybe $4,000 to $8,000 a month a range for you guys on this call, generally, for deals. I mean, it's good money. I mean, an account here is good dollars. So you guys want to really start lining these things up. Rebecca wants to know, Jack, was that your presentation client that you just showed today, generally, or do you do a different presentation for clients?
No, that's what your client would see.
All right, there it is, Rebecca. All right, so I hope everyone that's asking questions are basically going to submit a shipping client, because guess what happens, everyone, if you don't submit a shipping client? Anyone know the answer to that? Hey, you don't make money, right? We're not here. That's not our crew. Like, we're here to crush it, right? So get your client. And here's the worst thing: don't guess if they qualify or not. Just submit the lead in the ShipStore. If you've submitted something else in the ShipStore and they weren't that client for ShipStore, absolutely you want to get them to ShipSigma. That's the whole point, because they're not there to switch, change, or do any of that stuff, right? So, Rich, this doesn't have anything to do with LTL. Or this is just they use FedEx or UPS. This is not a USPS play. This is not. It's very little DHL. And everyone on the planet uses UPS and FedEx. So, I mean, isn't that right, Jack and Brent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the two.
We were asked, Sean, earlier about how many customers is this. That's what's hilarious. It's like 20,000 companies in the United States that ship over $1 million a year.
Yeah.
So there is an infinite supply of these companies that will qualify.
Marcus, importers ship in, not out. Can importers save?
Yes, absolutely.
Yep, good question on that. We got some sharp people.
We got a question on what on-hand shipping support do we offer. Again, we're negotiating their contracts. We will maintain a relationship with that client and keep looking at their contract and keep looking at the rates, but we're not helping them ship a package. They're not calling us for support on printing a label. That's not what we do.
Joe wants to know how we keep them up to date through the process, Jack and Brent.
Your salespeople?
Yep.
Yeah, Jack, you want to speak to that?
I mean, I think we can probably dial that in, here at the onset as we start making these introductions here. We're in close contact with Nick and we're having weekly stand-ups with him. So from that standpoint,
We'll
we're
make
sharing
sure
it.
you guys know the benchmarks of the sequence.
Yeah.
Is this worldwide?
Yes.
You-
But it's primarily domestic based companies. They can be shipping worldwide, but they need to be a US company.
Got it, guys? Y'all know this dance, right? But let me tell you this. This company is gonna make you money up front. Everyone needs to have shipping clients in. This is the thing that pays the mortgage. Like, it's legit, right? It's high level, it's great money, it's an easy service. And then you get your big old 401k retirement stuff with ShipStore on the back end of this. Like, it's a double whammy. So this becomes this. Do you guys understand now why we're bringing this in as a flagship service? Because it's ShipStore, it's Ship Sigma, it's a phenomenal partnership. It's big ass money in your pocket. Do y'all understand this? Do you guys get this? Get to your. I'm going to be doing this with Valero. They're going to be hitting this hard on shippers. We're going to be doing this with Ed. I've been working with Ed on LinkedIn stuff, but you got to get to your warm market and media. Your warm market's your best market. Hey, do you do $1 million shipping? Listen, man, I'm going to save you a whole ton of money, 21%. I'm not here to switch tape, and this is not a project, but right now you're overpaying, brother. I have a 99% shot that you're overpaying. I'm going to make you look like gold. I need you to get this in. Get them on a discovery call. Got it? Submit that lead in. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, another hook real quick, guys, is that we are going to be going into peak season. And during peak season, FedEx and UPS raise their rates pretty significantly.
Actually, don't they raise them, Jack, periodically all year? Like, aren't we getting more raises than ever?
There were a dozen last year alone. They don't like to publicize it. They usually send you an email that goes into the customer's junk mail folder. But yes, I mean, now is a good time.
So would
to
it
have
work
this in
like,
place.
hey, Brent, were you on top of those 12 increases you got last year in UPS
Right.
and FedEx? Were you like on top of that? Yeah. Listen, I got the company to do all that for you and take that time and effort away for you, and they're going to save you money. I mean, you guys, that's the world it's complex. It continues to increase. It's becoming a major expense for companies, and you got a great partnership.
Well, you've got the thought process. We've got Joe and Stephen effectively asked the same question. What's the best intro look like? What's the top sales proposition? And Jack led with it, but it's, do you ship a lot? Yes. When did you look at your contract last? Oh, it's been 2 years. Let's look at it. This guy's
Joe,
looking at it.
yeah, Joe Thomas, I'll find a way. Get to my staff. I'll find a way to get reps outside of it. I mean, Aspire Partners, you can bring people in, Joe, to Aspire Partners. This service is in Blue Coast and Aspire Partners. So right now, if you are in Aspire Partners, which you have to be if you're on this call, Aspire Partners or Blue Coast, then you can bring them in. That's the beauty about leveraging. I mean, you should build a team. Do you not think people are going to go recruit logistics reps, people out in the field right now in the marketplace that are the poor souls? Guys, close your ears. People that have to trade hours for dollars, you want to go after those poor souls out there and bring them in the wheelbox and show them how to make money. You guys get this, right? Get out there, get your clients set up. It's so simple. This service is so straightforward. That's what I love about this. And the clients I like services that win. I like service that pay good money. And I like service you don't have to wait 6 months to get paid. Does everyone raise your hand? Is that something that interests everyone on this call? And then the luxury box that this has that we don't have in other services is that you get that ability through ShipStore to be able to get paid on that. I love ShipStore. I mean, I love even these guys love ShipStore. It's a different product model than theirs.
Yeah.
That's why they're aligned with Nick in Austin and ShipStore, because they kick butt. They retain clients. They've got a history of 20 years of retaining clients. I want that, right? I'll be an old man still getting paid ACHs. And that's what it's all about. I mean, who doesn't want that? For crying out loud, who the hell's going to trade hours for dollars? Please save me. So, but we needed something as a hook to get them in to put money in your all's pocket. Do I hear an amen? You guys get that? So that's where Ship Sigma plays ball. It's a beautiful partnership. So I'm super excited for you guys. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Jack and Brent, anything in closing?
No, we just had Rebecca ask a question. This is just to close. How often do you do an analysis and then have the client realize they can't negotiate the deal themselves? That's 100% the point, guys. They can't. They cannot. So they're gonna, and you will have some that'll take the analysis and then they'll kind of ghost you for a little bit because they're gonna try to do it themselves. The
Oh,
point
this is a good question, Steve Scherer. And I should have mentioned this, I apologize. Steve,
Yeah.
go under Ship Store in your Blue Coast Resource Center, and it says submit a lead. And that's where you go. Everybody in Aspire Partners, you go into Ship Store and you go into submit a lead. How hard is that? How is that cool or what? Right? And it's going to Ship Store, and then they'll pass it through immediately to these guys. Got it? I love you guys. I'm excited about this. I want you to have this as a main. This is going to be a main service for us. Okay, we're going to put a lot of effort on this service, everybody, for your benefit, right? So get to your clients, get them lined up, get a discovery call. You got a 99% shot that Jack's going to find and Brent's going to find some savings for your client. That's a damn good average, right? I'll play that average all day long. So let these guys go do the work. Don't get fancy about it, and go drive it. But I would love residuals for all of you. So Jack, Brent, well done today, guys. And listen, we're gonna bring them back next week. We're gonna do a different call, but I was like, we just need to get these guys on deck, get them in front of you. These two guys did an amazing job today. They're there to make you money, right? And so you got to bring your clients to them. Okay, so let's go make money together. Jack, Brent, thank you so much. All right, we'll see y'all later. Appreciate you guys.
Sean. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye.